Okay, let's go ahead and talk about solving polynomials. So here are my notes. Let me move this down. There we go. Better. Okay, so we are solving polynomials in factored form. So here are two keywords. So roots is solutions of polynomial equation. Factored form is the way that we'll find our factored form is we are going to write the polynomial as a product of factors. So you can pause this and then write this down and come back to it. Okay, so now that you've written this down, we are going to talk about standard form and factored form. So I'm going to give you an example. This is standard form, and this is the factored form. So see how this is a product of two terms. This is a one term, and then this is a binomial. But if we were to multiply these, x times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. So we have the factored form as the product of two different factors, and this is our standard form. Okay, then this is another standard form, and this is the product of the two factors. Because if I do the multiplication here, x minus 3 and x plus 8, this is x squared minus 3x, and then 8x, and then negative 24. And then when we add these, we get 8 minus 3, which is 5x. So this is actually x squared plus 5x minus 24. So see how that's your standard form. So standard form is after it's been multiplied. Factored form is a product of two multiples. Okay, the zero product property is next. When we solve equations, we are going to use the zero product property. We are going to set the factored form to equal 0, and one or both of the factors must be equal to 0. So if I say these two things, a times b equals 0, then either a equals 0 or b equals 0, or both a equals 0 and b equals 0, because that can happen also. So I'm going to give you 4 examples. We're going to go through each one of these 4 examples. And what we're doing is we're solving for x. So solve for x. So this is going back to what we did at the beginning of the year when we're solving equations, okay? So it says we are going to set one or both of the factors must be equal to 0. So we're going to set them both equal to 0 and then solve. So this would be 2x equals 0, because this is one factor. And this is a second factor. And then x minus 4 equals 0. Now that we have 2 equations, we're going to solve both equations, and we're getting what x equals. X can equal more than one thing if you have a polynomial in factored form. So we are going to divide by 2, because 2 times x, the opposite of that to get rid of 2, is to divide by 2. And we know that 0 divided by 2 is just 2. No, it's just x. What am I thinking? I almost messed up there. All right. The next thing is x minus 4 equals 0. So remember, I draw a line down the equal sign to kind of keep them separated. So we are going to do the opposite of minus 4 and do plus 4. So x equals 4. So our solution is x equals 0 and 4. I'll put x equals 4. So x equals 0 and x equals 4. Okay, let's look at the next one. This has already been factored, so we're just going to set them both equal to 0. So x minus 3 equals 0. So that's the first term, or first factor, and then x plus 9 equals 0. So this would be, draw a line to plus 3, so x equals 3. And then the other one, x plus 9 equals 0, so we're going to subtract 9 to both sides. So x equals negative 9. So you might ask, why are we doing this? It's because we're finding what x equals. So on this, if I were to multiply this out and then plug in 0, then you would find what x equals. Let's see. If x equals 4 or if x equals 0. So this is 2x times x minus 4. So that'd be 2x squared. And then 2x times a negative 4 minus 8x equals 0. So we're going to plug in and see if they both work. So if I plug in a 0 here, that's 2 times 0 squared minus 8 times 0. Well, all of this is going to go to 0, so it's going to say 0 equals 0. So check. But then I need to check the other one with 4. So 2 times 4 squared minus 8 times 4 equals 0. So you're probably thinking that can't equal, but let's find it. 4 squared is 16. So 2 times 16 is 32. Then minus, what's 8 times 4? 32. So 32 minus 32 equals 0. So that works too. So you're finding what the value of x is that makes the equation equal to 0. Those are called your solutions or roots. So that's why we're doing all of this. So on that example 2, we got x equals 3 and x equals negative 9. You don't even have to write the and. Just put x equals 3, x equals negative 9. Okay, let's look at the next one. X times x plus 1 equals 0. So I set both of them equal to 0. So x equals 0 and x plus 1 equals 0. So I move negative 1 to the other side, or the 1 to the other side by subtracting, and I get x equals negative 1. So my two solutions is x equals 0, x equals negative 1. Okay, let's go to the next one. 3x times x plus 2 equals 0. So we set 3x equal to 0 and x plus 2 equals 0. So this is multiply, so the opposite would be to divide. So x equals 0 divided by 3 is 0. X plus 2 equals 0, so I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. So x equals negative 2. So here are my two solutions. So we'll write x equals 0, x equals negative 2. Okay. So that is solving polynomials in factored form. Okay, we just have 4 more to practice. So let's see. Solving polynomial equations. So we're going to continue on. So 2x plus 7 times 2x minus 7 equals 0. So 2x plus 7 equals 0. And 2x minus 7 equals 0. So first thing we want to do is we want to get rid of the constant. That's a plus 7. So we subtract 7 from both sides. So 2x equals negative 7. And then this is multiply, so the opposite would be to divide by 2. Let me close this out. Yes, I know my battery's dying. So that is x equals negative 7 over 2. Okay, and then the other one, it's the same thing, but one's plus and one's minus. We're going to do plus 7. So 2x equals 7 divided by 2. X equals 7 over 2. So we have two answers, x equals negative 2 and x equals positive 2. Just going to circle them like that. Okay, and next one, x minus 1 squared equals 0. So what this really means is x minus 1 times x minus 1 equals 0, which these are the same factors. So we're going to get the same answer no matter what. So do we really have to do this? Not really. Because no matter which one you do, you're still going to get that x equals 1 here. X equals 1. So actually, we just have one solution because there's a repeat here. Only one solution. Or root slash solution. Okay, the next one, look, we now have 3. We'll still do the same thing. We'll set them each equal to 0. And then we'll solve each one. So subtract 1, x equals -1, because that cancels. And then plus 3 to both sides. So x equals 3. And then plus 2. So now we have 3 solutions. Okay. Last one is this b plus 7 squared. So that just means we have b plus 7 times b plus 7. So see how they're the same thing? So we're going to have only one solution, or one root. And that is just b plus 7 equals 0. So subtract 7 from both sides. So b equals -7. That is the only answer we have, only that one solution. Okay, so we are done with solving polynomial equations for today. You'll do some practice, and then tomorrow we'll talk about factoring. Bye.